Hey, so good afternoon and welcome to our all level flow. Today we'll start in a seated position. So if you want to sit up onto a pillow or blanket, you can set that up, or you can just come to sit on your mat. Whether you prefer to sit cross-legged or if you like to sit kneeling, right, just go ahead and find to your shape and start to connect with your breath. Just taking your time to notice how you're breathing today. Noticing the quality of your breath. Maybe doing a bit of a body scan and just start to notice the different sensations in the body. Maybe noticing where in the body you might be holding some tension or tightness. And maybe just softening in those places. And then setting hands in front, just start to walk the hands forward, coming into a passive forward fold. Rounding through the spine and stretch across the back body. Maybe root through the sit bones. And just start to notice the different sensations in this shape. Walking the hands back in towards you. And we'll set our right hand to our right side and just sweep the left arm over, taking a side bend here. Maybe root through that left sit bone a little bit more. Breathe into the left side ribs. And then rising back up. And we'll go to the other side. Set the left hand down to the side and reach the right arm over. Press through that right sit bone. Breathe into those right side ribs and stretch all across the right side body. And then rising back up. Setting hands out behind you. And then bending into the knees and take the soles of the feet onto the mat. Feet about hip distance. And let's start to windshield wiper the legs from side to side. Right, really tuning into the movement through the hip. Right, noticing the different sensations that you feel through the legs. Maybe noticing differences from the left side and the right side of the body. And then coming back to center, and let's sit up. And then maybe if you do have a pillow or blanket, just remove that from underneath. And then bending into that right leg and just taking the shin in front and take your left leg out to the side. Right, so the legs can be at any angle. So they're over to the left. You can rest your right hand to your side and take the left hand onto the left hip. Sitting up nice and tall, and just slowly start to twist to the right, and your left hip will lift up off the mat and then unwind back to center. And just do that a few times, really noticing that connection between your hip and the leg. And just start to notice what you feel as you shift through this movement. And then coming back to center, maybe taking hands out in front, and again, sitting up nice and tall, and just start to shift and twist to the right, and come back to center. And just do that a few times. Again, just notice what you feel through that left hip. And then come back to center once again. And we'll just set the hands out to our sides. Maybe your left hand just a little bit behind you or just tucked between the calf and the thigh. And leaning slightly to the right, lift the left leg up and step your left foot forward. Maybe take that right leg in a little closer, and then hands to your sides. Just start to rock forward and back, right? Maybe even taking hands closer and lifting up. Right, we're going to just start to make our way up. Right, so I'll just shift over slightly, and then as you lift up this time, take your hands out in front and just start to feel a sensation of stretch through that back of the left calf. Right, maybe leaning forward a little and then shifting back. And just start to feel that stretch through the back of the heel, right, maybe even into the ankle. And then leaning forward just a little more, start to lift the right leg up and step the right leg back and lower the knee down. And then rise up into your low lunge. Start to reach the arms over to the left, stretch across the right side body, sweeping arms up through center, and reach the arms over to the right. Coming back to center once again, and sweeping hands down onto the mat. Start to take hands forward slightly, leaning forward, and just lift that right knee up off the mat. And then just shifting back and forth a few times. Again, just noticing how that left hip feels. Notice what sensations you feel through that right leg. And then the next time you shift back, lower the right knee down. Take the left leg back. And then we'll switch sides. Step the right foot forward. And then start to lift that left knee up. And let's just shift back and forth just a couple of times. And then as you lift forward this time, maybe get a little bit lighter through the left toes and maybe lift the left leg up. And then lower the foot down, lower the left knee down, untuck the toes, and then just with the help of your hands, start to sit back onto the mat, and let's swing the right leg out to the side so that we're in that shape that we started in on the other side, so that we can start to find that connection into the right hip. So left shin in front, right leg out to the side. Left hand over to the side, and you can place your right hand onto the right hip and just gently start to twist to the left. Right, that right hip will lift up, and then you're going to lower back down. So just do that a few times. Really focusing on what sensations you feel in the right hip. And then coming back to center, maybe extend the arms out front. And again, continue to twist to the left and come back to center. And just a couple of times like that. And then returning back to center once again, taking hands to your sides and just start to lean to the left, lift the right leg up and step it forward. Right, again, maybe pull your left leg in towards you and start to lean forward a few times. And then with the help of your hands, start to lean forward and start to stretch into the back of the right leg this time. Again, just leaning over that right foot. You can shift back and forth a few times. Maybe start to feel a stretch into the ankle and into the heel. And then walking your hands forward, start to lift the hips up and step that left foot back. Coming into a lunge, lower the left knee and sweep both arms up overhead. Let's reach the arms over to the right. Sweep them up through center and stretch the arms over to the left. Coming back to center, and let's take the hands down onto the mat and we'll lift that left knee up. And again, let's shift back and forth just a few times. You can go as slow or as fast as you like. Just really focusing on the movement in the hips. And then the next time you're leaning back, lower the left knee, step that right foot back. And let's switch and take the left leg forward. Start to lean forward and lift the right knee up. And again, just a couple of times back and forth. And then the next time you're shifting forward, maybe come up onto the toes, maybe even lift the right leg up. And then lower the toes down, lower the knees down, swing that right shin towards the left, and come to sit back and take that left leg out to the side. This time, so again, right shin is in front, left leg is out to the side. This time we'll keep hands in front of the heart. Start to lean to the right, lift that left leg up off the mat. Outer rotate the leg and step that left foot forward. Maybe shift the right shin in towards you. Reach the arms forward and start to sort of find some momentum to lift up off the hips. So then we'll be leaning onto that left leg. Lift the hips up and try to keep the hands lifted and step that right leg back behind you. So we're in this low sort of lunge. And then let's reach the arms up overhead for high lunge. Let's reach the arms over to the left. Lift them up through center and reach them over to the right. Coming back to center, let's sweep the hands down onto the mat and shift forward, coming up onto those right toes. Maybe even lift that right leg up slightly. And then step the right foot forward next to the left, coming into standing forward fold. On your next breath, lift up halfway and lengthen. Let's fold forward once again and pressing feet down into the mat, reaching out through the arms, sweep them up overhead and take arms out to your sides for mountain pose. So just standing tall at the top of your mat, just taking a few moments here to connect with your breath. Notice how you're feeling and noticing how you're breathing. And let's sweep the arms up and over, bending into the knees. Let's take the hips back, coming into chair. Taking hands to heart center. Let's sit just a little lower. Maybe lean forward a little and take the hips back. Shifting the weight into that left foot. Lift the right heel up off the mat. Maybe even lift the toes off the mat, and either taking a few small steps or take one long step. Maybe even hang here for a moment and then lower the right toes down. Take hands onto the mat and step the left foot back. Find your plank, either knees up or knees down, and then lower all the way down onto the mat. Untuck your toes and press the tops of the feet down into the mat. Elbows in at the sides, and start to lift up through the crown of the head. Send the heart forward, coming into your back bend, and then lower all the way back down. And let's do 2 more. Start to rise up. Pull the hands towards the back of the mat. Send the heart forward and lift up through the crown of the head. And lower back down. 1 more time. Rising up. Back of neck is long. Keep pressing the tops of the feet down into the mat. And lower all the way back down. And then pushing back into your tabletop. Walk the hands back. And then come to sit. Take the legs out to your right side. And we'll do that same flow on the other side. So left shin in front, right leg out to the side. And we'll just keep hands at heart center. Sitting up nice and tall. Start to lift. You might want to lean a little bit to the left. And just try to minimize how much you lean. Lift the right leg up. Outer rotate the leg and step that right foot forward. Maybe just scooch the left leg in a little closer, reaching arms forward. And just with a little bit of momentum, you can start to rock your way up, right? And then leaning onto that right leg, arms forward, start to lift the hips up and step that left leg out behind you, coming into our lunge once again. Sweeping arms up overhead for your high lunge. Let's reach the arms over to the right. Take them up through center and stretch arms to the left. Coming back to center once again. Sweeping hands down onto the mat. Start to lean forward. Maybe coming up onto those left toes. Maybe lift the left leg up and just hang here for a moment. And then step the left foot forward next to the right, finding your standing forward fold. Your next breath, lift up halfway, extend out through the crown of the head. Folding forward once again. And then rising up to standing, reaching arms up and over, and lower the arms to your sides for mountain pose. Again, just a moment here to pause. Just noticing how you're breathing in this moment. And then setting up for chair once again. Let's sweep arms up and over. Take the hips back, finding your chair. Let's take hands to heart center, lifting up through the crown of the head. Send the hips back a little further and maybe lean forward a little more. Shifting the weight into your right foot. Lift the left heel up off the mat. Maybe lift the left toes off the mat. And slow and with control, start to extend the left leg out behind you.
Again, maybe take a moment here just to hang in space. And then lower the left toes down. Take the hands down onto the mat. Step the right leg back. Find your plank. Knees up or knees down. And lower all the way down onto the mat. Untuck the toes. Elbows in at the sides. And start to curl up for your cobra. And lower all the way back down. And let's do 2 more. Start to rise up. Keep pressing the tops of the feet down. Back of neck is long and lift up through the crown of the head. Lowering back down onto the mat. And one more time, curling up. Scoop the spine and send the heart forward. And lower all the way back down. And let's push back into child's pose. And just take a moment here to pause. Just noticing how you're breathing and how you're feeling in this moment. And then shifting forward into tabletop. Let's take our hands over to the right side of the mat and step the left foot forward next to the hands. Sweeping arms up and over for high lunge. Let's twist to the left, reaching arms out wide. Unwind to center and open up to the right. Coming back to center. Let's reach the arms over to the left. Take them up through center and reach them over to the right. Really push through that left foot and hug the left hip back. Coming back to center and reaching arms forward. You can clasp the hands or interlace the fingers. Start to lean forward. Tuck the right toes and lift the right knee up. So leaning forward in this high lunge. Maybe get a little lighter on the toes and slowly step the right foot forward next to the left and just find this low chair. Pressing feet down into the mat, lifting up to stand. Release the arms, spread the fingers out wide, and lower the arms to your sides. Returning into our chair pose. Let's sweep the arms up and over. Bend the knees and send the hips back. Find your chair. Reaching arms forward. Again, maybe sink a little lower. Let's clasp the hands. Shift the weight into that left foot. Lift the right heel up. Maybe lift the right toes up. And slow and with control. Extend the right leg out behind you. Lower the toes down. And let's sweep the arms up and over for high lunge. Reaching arms over to the left. Take them up and over to the right. Return to center and let's twist to the left. Unwind to center and let's sweep the hands down onto the mat and step the left foot back. Find your plank and then lower down onto the mat. Untuck the toes. This time, take hands underneath the shoulders and we'll set up for locust. So on your next breath, start to curl up. Maybe lift the hands off the mat And lift the legs off the mat. Maybe lift everything up a little higher. And let's lower all the way back down. Let's do that one more time. Lifting up through the crown of the head. Keep the back of the neck long. Lift the toes up off the mat. Lift the hands up off the mat. And keep holding here. And then slowly lower all the way back down. Hands by the low ribs. And push back into child's pose. And just take a moment to pause once again. And then shifting forward into tabletop, we'll do that same flow on the other side. Let's walk our hands over to the left and step the right foot forward next to the hands. Sweeping arms up and over for your low lunge. Stretching arms over to the right. Sweep them up through center and take them over to the left. Coming back to center. Let's twist to the right. Unwind, reach arms back up and open up to the left. Coming back to center. Let's reach the arms forward. You can clasp the hands or interlace the fingers. Start to hinge forward and then tuck the left toes under and lift the left knee up. Leaning forward just a little more, maybe even getting a little lighter on those left toes. And then slow and with control, step the left foot forward next to the right, coming into this low chair. And then pressing feet down into the mat, sweeping arms up and over. Release the clasp, spread the fingers wide, and then lower the arms down to your sides, coming into your mountain pose. And setting up for our chair once again. Sweeping both arms up and over, bend the knees and sit the hips back. Taking hands forward, let's clasp the hands. Let's sit a little lower. Shift the weight into that right foot. Lift the left heel up off the mat. Maybe lift the toes up off the mat. And slow and with control, extend the left leg back. Maybe take a moment here to pause. And then lower the toes down, sweeping arms up and over for high lunge. Let's reach the arms over to the right. Take them up through center and reach them over to the left. Coming back to center, let's twist to the right. Unwind, and then sweep hands down onto the mat. Plant the hands and step the right foot back. Find your plank, knees up or knees down. Lower down onto the mat. Untuck the toes. Take your arms out to the sides with the palms face down. Pressing the feet down into the mat. Start to lift up through the crown of the head and curl up for your back bend. Lift the arms off the mat. Extend the fingers towards the back of the mat. And then slowly lower all the way back down. One more time and we'll add the legs. On your next breath, start to rise up. Lift the arms and legs up off the mat. Extend out through the toes and extend out through the fingers. Lift everything up a little higher. And then slowly lower all the way back down. Hands by your low ribs. And push back into child's pose. Again, just a moment to pause and find your breath. And let's shift forward into tabletop. Let's walk our hands to the right side of the mat. Step that left foot forward next to the hands. Tuck the right toes under and lift the right knee up off the mat. Pivot onto the sole of the right foot. Bend into the left elbow and place that left arm onto the left thigh. Sweep the right arm over for extended side angle. Really press down into that right foot and stretch across the right side body and extend out through the fingertips. On your next breath, rise up into warrior two. You can take a moment to reset your stance. And let's straighten the left leg. Flip the left palm up. Lower the right arm down and stretch the left arm up for reverse triangle. Taking arms through center and lower the left arm down and sweep the right arm overhead. Coming back to center, reaching the arms out to the sides. Let's start to sweep both arms forward and lift that right heel up. Bending into that left knee, taking hands down onto the mat. Leaning forward, coming up onto the right toes. Maybe even lift that right leg up. Take a moment here. Extend out through the heel and lift up through the crown of the head. Slowly step the right foot forward next to the left, finding your forward fold. You can hold on to opposite elbows, interlace hands behind the head, or you can hug around the knees. And then release the arms. Let's lift up halfway. Fold forward once again. And then rise up to stand, reaching out through the hands. Sweep them up and over and lower the arms to your sides. Taking hands to heart center. Shift the weight into the left foot. And let's lift the right knee up towards hip height. Flex the right foot. Start to tip the torso forward. Slowly kick the right leg out behind you. Coming into your warrior three. Pull that inner right thigh up and extend out through the crown of the head. You can bend a little into that left knee. And just holding here. You can keep hands at heart center. You can take arms out to your sides or reach the arms forward. Just taking a moment just to find your balance and your steadiness. And then lower the right toes. Start to rise up and sweep the arms up for high lunge. Planting the hands down onto the mat. Let's step that left foot back. Find your plank. And let's bump the left hand forward slightly. Take the hips and heels over to the left and sweep the right arm up for side plank. Lower the right hand down and then lower the knees down onto the mat. Tuck the toes and just sit the hips back, coming into this modified child's pose. And then let's shift forward into tabletop, and we'll do that same flow on the other side. Walking hands to the left side of the mat. Step the right foot forward next to the hands. Lift the left knee up and pivot onto the sole of that left foot. Bending into the right arm, place it onto the right thigh, and take that left arm up and over for extended side angle. And then on your next breath, let's rise up into our warrior two. Looking over that right hand, hug that right hip back, extend out through the inner right thigh. Start to straighten that right leg, flip the right palm up, and lower the left hand down, stretching the right arm up for reverse triangle. Coming through center, let's sweep the right arm down and stretch the left arm over. And then rising back up, let's sweep the left arm forward, bend into the right knee and spin the left heel up. And then planting the hands down onto the mat, start to lean forward, getting light onto the left toes and lift the left leg up. Just take a moment here, extend out through that heel, lift up through the crown of the head. And then slowly step the left foot next to the right, coming into your forward fold. A moment here. Again, you can hold onto opposite elbows, hug around the knees, or interlace hands behind the head. Let the spine get long, let the head get heavy. And then release the arms. Lifting up halfway, back of neck is long. Fold forward once again. And then rise up to stand. Sweeping arms up and over. And release the arms for mountain pose. Taking hands to heart center. Let's shift the weight into the right foot and lift the left knee up towards hip height. Flex that left foot. Start to tip the torso forward. Start to extend the left leg out behind you, making your way into warrior three. You can have a slight bend in that right knee. Really extend out through the crown of the head. Extend out through that back heel. Spin that inner left thigh up towards the ceiling. And just holding here for a moment. And bending a little bit more into that right knee. Lower the left toes down. Sweeping arms up and over for high lunge. And then let's plant the hands down onto the mat. Step that right foot back, finding your plank. Bump your right hand forward slightly and take the hips and heels to the right and lift the left arm up, coming into side plank. Let's lower the left hand down, coming back to center, and then bending into the knees. Lower all the way down onto the mat. Untuck the toes. Let's reach the arms forward. Take the palms face in. Keep pressing the feet down into the mat. And then on your next breath, let's rise up, reaching the arms up. Lift the head up. Keep pressing the feet down into the mat. And then lower all the way back down. Let's do one more and add the legs. Next breath, start to lift the arms and legs off the mat. Lift up everything a little higher. And then slowly lower all the way back down. Hands by the low ribs, tuck the toes, and then sit the hips back, coming into this modified child's pose once again. And then coming up to a seat. And let's swing the legs out in front. And setting up for a bit of, let's set up for a reclined twist. So we'll extend the right leg out in front, bending into that left knee, sole of the left foot to the inside of the right leg, or you can take it to the outside. Flex the right foot and hug that right thigh down into the mat. Left hand out behind you. Sitting up nice and tall, extend the right arm up, and then start to twist to the right or left, taking the elbow to the outside of the knee, or you can hug around the knee. Maybe grow a little taller, finding a bit more space along the spine, and just twist a little further. And let's unwind to center. And then we'll switch sides. Extend the left leg out. Bend into that right knee. Sole of the right foot inside or outside of that left leg. Flex your left foot and hug that inner left thigh down into the mat. Right hand out behind you. Sit up nice and tall and lift up through the crown of the head. Reach the left arm up and start to twist to the right. You can take the elbow to the outside of the leg or hug around the leg. Maybe grow taller, finding more space through the spine, and just twist a little further. And then unwind through center. Release the legs, and we'll lower down onto the mat. And just bend the knees and keep the soles of the feet on the mat. Taking arms out to your sides. And we'll set up for a reclined pigeon. So feet about hip distance. Let's take the right ankle on top of the left thigh. Flex the right foot and just send the right knee forward. You can stay here if this feels like a good stretch for you. Option if you'd like. You can pull that left knee in towards you, reach through and grab a hold of the back of the left thigh or grab onto the top of the left shin. Keep flexing through that right foot. And then maybe sway a little from side to side. And just noticing the different sensations of stretch through the right hip. And then once you've found a stretch that feels good for you, pause here. Keep flexing that right foot. Hug the left knee in a little closer and start to push through the sit bones like you're trying to get the sit bones to touch the mat. And then just release the hands and continue to cross the right knee over top the left. And then either holding on to the knees, holding on to opposite shins, ankles, or feet. Hug the knees in towards you. Right leg is crossed over the left. And then release the legs. Uncross the legs and we'll set up for the other side.
So again, starting with feet about hip distance. Let's take the left ankle over top the right. Flex the left foot and send the left knee forward. You can stay here if this feels like a good stretch. Option if you like. Again, you can reach through, grab the back of the right thigh or the top of the right shin. Keep flexing through the left foot. Maybe sway a little from side to side. And just noticing the sensation of stretch through the left hip. And then once you've found a stretch that feels nice for you, keep holding here. Maybe hug the right knee in a little closer and then start to push out through the sit bones, right? Like you're sending the sit bones out. And then release the hands. Continue to cross the left knee over the right. And you can grab onto opposite knees, opposite shins, ankles, or feet, and just hug the knees in towards you. And then release the legs and step the feet about hip distance, and we'll set up for bridge pose. So arms to your sides, palms face down. And let's just walk the heels in towards the sit bones, pressing the feet down into the mat. Start to lift the hips up. Push into the arms, push into the back of the head, and lift the hips up a little higher. And just pause at the top. Keep holding and keep breathing. And slowly lower all the way back down. Let's step the feet out just a little further away from the sit bones. And we'll try bridge once again. So just setting arms to your sides, maybe even hug the shoulder blades in towards one another and widen across the chest. Start to push the feet down into the mat. Float the hips up towards the ceiling. Push into the arms a little more and push into the back of the head a little more. Take the hips up just a little higher. Push through the feet. See if you can lift the hips even higher. And then slowly lower all the way back down. And let's hug the knees in towards the chest. And just rock a little from side to side. And then release the legs. Extend them out along the mat. Let the feet fall out to either side. Take your arms to your sides with the palms face up. You can close down the eyes and just let the whole body get heavy and sink into the mat, coming into your final relaxation. And if you're ready to close your practice, start to deepen your breath, bringing awareness back into the body, and start to invite movement into fingers and toes, inviting movement into arms and legs. You can roll the head from side to side, gently waking the body back up. If you'd like to do one more stretch, reach your arms up overhead. Take a deep inhale here and stretch all through the body. And on your exhale, let it all go. You can hug your knees in towards the chest, rock a little from side to side. Take a moment to thank yourself for your practice today. And then when you're ready, making your way back up to a seat. And thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your practice with me today. It's always an honor and always a joy to share this practice. Sending gratitude for our practice and gratitude for our community. Wishing you all a beautiful rest of the day. Peace.